Subscribe to the channel and comment, I subscribe. We'll try to reply to all comments.
You've got me lighting up again, Abraham.
Never ends, does it?
Never rains, but it pours. When on the path,
Since on the path,
since I'm on the path towards unconditional love,
so one quick question before you get too far into that. Are you on the path on your way over there, or are you creating an atmosphere so that the path can come over here?
sweet. I am creating that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And
So in that case, you're always on the path.
Right.
And you have control of it. Yeah.
right, which dovetails into living from my most authentic self.
You really can't help that either, because you are what you are and you feel how you feel and your gap is whatever it is. You cannot be other than authentic.
Well, that depends on how much of a facade people actually portray to the world.
Law of attraction ignores the facade completely.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Completely get that.
Yeah. So it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
It's just part of the shield that sometimes you put up that prevents you from perceiving or receiving.
So, can you help me untangle over the last few days the exaggerated emotion of vulnerability?
It's an interesting thing. If we start from the emotional feeling of vulnerability, you can't get to where you want to be from there. Can't get to security, can't get to well-being, can't get there from there. And the reason you can't get there from there is because nobody can get anywhere from there, because that's not how it works. So rather than trying to get there from there, what you have to do is start with something that is sort of kind of like where you want to get to, and you have to find a way of fashioning it, contriving it, creating it, accomplishing it as best you can. But you do it at the times that is the easiest to do it. Our friend, when he awakened, found that to be a really easy time to receive. But later in the day, if you've been aware of more things, it's not so easy. So you get what we're talking about. We know you do. We know all of you do, that it's point of attraction. And we just said to you the most significant thing that you have ever heard relative to your point of attraction. You can't get from here to over there, because the universe doesn't work like that. Over there comes over here where you are, because you are the point of attraction. So what happens with so many of you who have been trying to get over there and 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 not getting over there because that's not the way it works, then after a while you come to conclusions that are flawed, like I'm not good at it, or I'm not focused enough, or I'm not trying hard enough, or I wasn't born under the right star, or it's my mother's fault, or whatever. You make up all kinds of silly things to explain it, when all that is happening is you are letting something else be your object of attention, and therefore controlling your vibrational output. So what's going on over here is preventing what's over there. And then you feel vulnerable, because it won't come, and it won't come, and it won't come, and it won't come, and it won't come, because it can't come, because you are offering a vibrational frequency. That's what we mean when we say the law of attraction is always fair. There is never an injustice. So how could you be vulnerable? If you care about yourself, do you?
Yep.
And if you want to feel good, do you? Then how could you be vulnerable when you know how this works, unless momentarily you forget how it works and you put the power in someone else's hands? If you say to someone over there, I like you, I really, really like you, I'm going to come over there where you are, and then you go over there where they are, and they keep going, and you go over there and they keep going, and you go over there and they keep going, you go over there and they keep going. After a while, you have to decide. Instead of that, you're just going to stand right where you are, be the authentic. Authentic. When we say authentic, we mean truly in sync with the whole of who you are. Sometimes when you say authentic, you mean, well, I don't feel good today, and it would be wrong of me to say I feel good when I don't. So I'm going to express my authenticity and explain to you how rotten I feel today. We say the very fact that you feel rotten means you're not authentic, because if you were truly authentic, you'd be feeling really good right now. True authenticity is powerful, and clever and clear-minded and flexible and happy and elated and really, really wise and in the right place at the right time all the time. That's authentic, you see. Yeah.
Following your highest excitement, there may be a number of things that we can take action upon in any given moment in time, but those...
You can't follow your highest excitement unless you followed your lower and then a little higher and then a little higher, because the momentum has to be a gradual thing.
Yes.
In other words, you really do not want to be shot from a rocket into excitement. You don't want that. You get there and you're sort of unconscious.
If the momentum is already rampant,
Then do you have any choice?
no, you just got to go with it, right?
Yeah, so why are we talking about it? We're talking about it as if it requires effort. It doesn't.
No, but it's the awareness. Once you start to build the momentum, it's becoming the organizing principle of
So
my life.
awareness is focus. So let's talk about focus as it relates to effort.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a lot of effort to focus because you're bucking the current of law of attraction. In other words, if you haven't tended to your point of attraction, if you haven't dealt with your vibrational atmosphere, if you haven't started out slow enough and been steady in your awareness of it, then you might have momentum going that you didn't mean to get going, and now you're trying to focus against the current of that momentum. Sometimes you just try too hard. Do you believe us when we say that all good things are coming to you? You see, this is a basic misunderstanding of humans. Somehow, between the time you got here and the time we got here and you started playing with us, many of you have been convinced by others, or maybe even convinced yourself by misunderstanding the laws of the universe or your own vibrational output. You've convinced yourself that you are unworthy, needing to prove worthiness. Can you hear us when we say to you, you cannot get there from there? You cannot find worthiness from a premise that you're unworthy. You just can't get there, because when you feel unworthy, things that match that keep coming, and then you say, oh, God's testing me. God's not testing you. The universe is responding to your vibrational frequency. Change it if you want to, but don't blame God. So how do you find worthiness? How do you find it? Well, you were born with it. We'd step back from the specifics of whatever's not going right, and we'd focus upon how much is going right. How did you deserve this planet? It's really one of the nicer places in all of the universe to be. How'd you work that one out? How much did you pay for this sea that you are moving upon? When you get your final bill, look and see. Ocean cost should be way more than anything you paid. Should be way more than anything you paid. How do you justify your existence in this magnificent place? Esther, she couldn't stop acknowledging the perfection of the weather on this voyage. Every moment feeling wonderful. Every moment feeling wonderful. Who are you going to pay for that? And how are you going to justify it? How do you justify the receiving of so much? Your blood pumped all night long. Who are you going to pay? Who do you thank for that? In other words, how do you justify that goodness that comes? How do you justify the well-being of you is so extraordinary. It's time for you to just take note of it and feel worthy about it so much. And if you start even there, lie in your bed. Esther loves this rockabye baby boat. She just loves that feeling. The more the boat rocks, the better she sleeps. She just loves that feeling of well-being, that feeling of sureness of the vessel moving through the water, feeling of well-being. It doesn't take very much for you to find, to focus upon, and feel appreciation of before you set the tone and begin the momentum. And then the universe just yields more and more and more. But the thing that we most want you to hear, it's always yielding it. It's just you've got to find the stance that lets you let it in. You got to allow it. You have to find a way to sync up with it. And that's why it's so interesting to watch the factions of the world and the people of the world and the individual villages of the world and the groups of the world, and how they use to varying degrees other things as their excuse to not let their natural well-being flow to them. They get very determined to blame it on this and blame it on that and blame it on that and blame it on that, all the time, not having a clue that they're just picking things to focus upon and keeping a momentum going that sets up such resistance that even though the well-being is flowing to them and through them with such velocity and steadiness and consistency, but they don't let it in because they've got some screwy idea that someone set them off on early on, even though there's not a shred of evidence to the contrary of any of this that we speak, not one shred of evidence anywhere. And once you get hold of a little piece of this, then just let your knowledge about this, let your knowledge of this mathematics, let your knowledge of that, just apply it to everything. Until in time you will say, as Esther is saying on a regular basis, I have no excuse for anything other than unequivocal, constant, steady acknowledgement of worthiness. There's no other explanation. It just shouldn't go this good, this much for one person. We must all be in on it. You see, no reason to ever feel vulnerable unless you're just in the mood to pinch yourself off from something good.
It's accentuated for me over the last few days, where we began last week, this free-flowing energy that I feel on a regular basis, to have these peak experiences.
We like your peak experiences and we like your pinching off experiences because all of it helps you to focus and define who you really are and how you really want to feel. In other words, it's just a matter of finding some beliefs that work for you and fanning the flames of those. Life is supposed to be good for you. Life is supposed to be fun. And there are cooperative components everywhere. This isn't hard. It isn't hard.
What it exaggerated for me was to bask in appreciation of the moments that you feel the energy, the power, the flow, the perfect unfolding of synchronistic events.
See, the way you were stating that,
right,
and the way you mean it, what you're actually saying is, so I'm watching for the current. It's like the surfer who is watching for the wave and then positioning himself in it. On a cruise some time ago with Tahiti, the locals followed the speedboats that the excursions were in, and they got in the draft of the boat and let the draft of the boat carry them, and they still had to position themselves within it, and they were paddling hard to stay up with it, but they were benefiting from the motion forward. Well, that's a little bit what you're describing, but it's what we're wanting to sort of soften in your awareness, because that is the effort factor that we're talking about that causes you to try too hard. And the thing about that is, unlike what we were talking about earlier, it's not sustainable. And so since it isn't sustainable, there's almost always a drop off from it, where once you sync up with this energy of well-being, it is always sustainable. So we want you to feel the sustainability, the sameness in a sense of the alignment that we call satisfaction, the alignment that we call peacefulness and calm, the alignment that we call appreciation and joy, the alignment that we call passion and exhilaration. It's all alignment. It's all alignment, you see. And so just don't feel like you need to always be out there making it happen in that strong way, because it's always happening. And the fact that you feel that way means you've missed this point that we are emphasizing in this moment. It's coming to you, you're not going to it.
Right.
So often in creating, you think, well, I'll set a goal, there it is over there, I'll set a goal, and then I'll get some means of getting that goal. I'll bring us together with some sort of effort. And we say, that's where you get screwy in your understanding. It's about creating the vibrational atmosphere. So how do you do that? You ask yourself the simple question, why do I want that? Because everything that you want, there is no exception to this. This is always true. Every single thing you want, whether it's a material object, a state of being, a relationship, a pile of money, a state of being, a circumstance, an event, every single thing that you want or ever will want or ever have wanted or anybody else will ever want or has ever wanted or is wanting right now, no exceptions. The reason that everyone wants everything is because they believe that they will feel better in the having of it. So when you say, why do I want that? And you go right to the emotional basis, right to the emotional basis in time, and we expect it with a lot of you. Soon you will say, the reason that I want it is